Story of an Ice Cube by Maya Dhar. Bob goes to the beach. Once upon a time there was an ice cube named Bob. Bob the ice cube was a solid. Solids like Bob have fixed shapes and volume, and vibrating molecules that keep a short intermolecular distance. This means that Bob's shape and volume stayed the same, and that the molecules in his body stayed a short distance away from one another. Bob liked being an ice cube, but he had a problem. Bob had never been outside the house before because of his mom's strict rule. Never go outside the house, she would say to Bob. Bob had always listened to his mom's rule and had always stayed inside the house. Knowing that the melting point of a solid is about 0 degrees Celsius, Bob's family had always kept the temperature of their home at minus 12 degrees Celsius. The melting point of an object is the temperature of which a solid turns into a liquid. One warm day, Bob couldn't take it anymore. He had to get outside the house. Once Bob left, he felt excited and free. Since Bob had never been outside the house before, he decided to go to the beach. This is fun. How come Mom never lets me go outside? Bob thought to himself as he began to relax in the sand. Suddenly, Bob noticed a big puddle had formed around him. He started to panic. As he thought, his body temperature started to rise. His body temperature was now at 9 degrees Celsius. Since the melting point of a solid object is about 0 degrees Celsius, Bob was now melting faster than he could think. Bob stopped moving around. His mom's worst fear had now come true. He was now H2O. He was now a liquid. Bob was now going through the phase change called melting. This phase change turns a solid object into a liquid. As you can see here, as Bob was melting, heat and energy was being added to change his state from solid to liquid. As a liquid, Bob had an indefinite shape and fixed volume. This means that Bob's shapes did not stay the same, but his volumes stayed the same. Below this, you can see a photo of Bob melting and what Bob looked like as a liquid, or in this case as water. The hot sun shone above him as he waited in the sand, a warm, wet puddle. Bob now thought that this was the end. He thought that he was going to die. The temperature of his body was now near the boiling point of a liquid, about 100 degrees Celsius. As he waited helplessly in the sand, Bob started to steam, turning into gas. As this happened, the sun was adding heat and energy to the water, turning into steam. Bob was now going through the phase change called vaporization. As Bob evaporated, the molecules in his body started to move further apart and to move around in faster, random, continual motions. In order for liquid water to turn into water vapor, the amount of energy in the molecules must be increased. Bob was now gaining a lot more energy. As Bob drifted up higher into the sky, he realized that he now had an infinite shape and volume and can move around more freely. This means that Bob could now take up as much space as possible and didn't keep the same shape. In Bob's molecules, as a gas, the molecules kept a greater intermolecular distance, meaning that they stayed at a greater distance away from one another. While Bob was floating up high into the sky, the air started to get colder. Inside Bob's body, the molecules started to slow down and slowly slide past each other. The cold air made Bob also have a shorter intermolecular distance, making the molecules in his body get closer together. Bob was now going through the phase change called condensation. While going through condensation, Bob was losing energy and heat. As this happened, the gas molecules started to lose energy and rearrange into liquid molecules. While Bob was going through this phase change, he noticed that he was now slowly turning back into a liquid, and as he did, he noticed that he started to fall back towards Earth. As he landed, he noticed that he wasn't at the beach anymore, but in Antarctica. In Antarctica, Bob started to freeze, or solidify, turning him back into an ice cube. While this happened, Bob's molecules started to slow down even more. This happened to Bob because heat and energy was being taken away, and when heat and energy is being taken away from something, then it changes state. If you look here, you can see that Bob just changed from liquid to solid by freezing or solidifying. Bob now knew why his mom had always told him to stay inside the house, and always did after his crazy adventure.